So anyways, I've always loved Legos. How about you, Corey?
Here's the thing about Legos. I really like following the instructions, and I don't know what that says about me as a person.
That's
So
true.
Legos give me like a kind of an existential crisis when I think about them, but I really enjoy putting them together and following the instructions.
So if someone gave you what I used to have as a kid, just a big bucket of freelance Legos, and here, be creative, you motherfucker, make whatever the hell your heart desires, how would that make you feel?
I mean, I used to do that when I was young because we also had the bucket of Legos.
But
And
does it? Did
oh
it?
my God, it's the room. Okay, this is the room
Oh,
where it has to
jeez.
happen, but I don't know. I have to come at it from another different place. This is the wrong place.
Oh fuck.
Uh, Honestly, what I mostly remember is like I would make guys out of a square block, a 2x4, and a square block, and the color Lego they were like determined their elemental affinity. And then I
Oh,
had a system of strengths and weaknesses, and then from the fucking factory deep in the wastelands, some were produced with multiple colors on them, and it was like
that's
it was next level
oh,
shit. And
that's
then some of them, instead of squares for the head and feet, they were also 2x4s, so it looked like motion blur going backwards, and they were super fast.
that is elemental fusion.
And I had a couple 2x8 blocks, and those guys were so fucking fast you wouldn't believe it. They were fucking next level fast.
Next level fast.
And I remember, I think, like, because I mainly just had, like, blue, red, yellow, green, like, easy colors to make elemental affinities out of. But then we got, like, a set that had some black Legos in it, and those were fucking, like, space elemental. That shit was crazy.
That's something.
I don't remember
Dude,
which door it is.
it's a door.
Oh, it's the last door. That's fucked. That's so fucked. Okay, do you know what we have to do here?
Hmm.
We have to make a set of stairs
Yep.
up to the thing, but we can't see after this point what it looks like.
Just go with your gut.
And we just have to keep doing that until we can climb this, and it works. Didn't work.
It didn't work. You're gonna have to count. You're gonna have to count it out.
No, no. That's that's not physically possible.
You gotta shout it out, shout it out, shout it out loud.
I mean, shout, let it all out. These are the things I could do without. Come on. I'm talking to you. Come on. At least I get a 1-up every time.
That's cheating.
So how many times do I fail at this before we call it and I just do the normal levels? That was wrong.
That many times? What an asshole.
Okay, I got the star this time. Star didn't do much.
Nope.
Okay, I made it.
Oh, you just made it.
Then. Okay. So the problem is, like, ideally... Are you fucking kidding me?
Are you fucking kidding him?
Are you fucking kidding me?
I am actually fucking kidding you.
Wait. I think we're going back to potatoes. We're going back to potatoes. I'm not doing
Jeez.
that like that. That shit's whack. That's
just-
wiggity whack,
That's
yo.
wiggity wiggity whack. In the time you spent stuck in limbo right then, you could have beat this level, I bet.
And the next one, maybe.
And the next one, Jesus Christ.
But that's what it is. When you've got 95 out of 96 goals, and that's the last one, motherfucker. And it's like, ideally, you would make the steps up, and you would have a little landing pad for you before you went into that little thing, so you could run and duck into it. But sometimes that doesn't happen. And usually, like, you get real close, but you can't make it in. But once I duck jumped into it, and I was a fucking wizard that day.
Other days, it's just a hole.
It's just a hole. You go in it, and you're like, what would it be like to go in that hole? And then you learn, and then that's it.
It's like wanting to give a high five, but you've got no arm.
It's true. It's just like that. You know, you can't put holes on pedestals.
No.
Because that's not how physics works.
Well, maybe in an alternate universe.
Like in the Looney Tunes when they have the portable hole.
Yes.
Oh, that was Roger Rabbit.
Good job.
Roger Rabbit, Looney Tunes. I mean, Looney Tunes were in that.
A little bit.
You had Daffy Duck versus Donald Duck.
That's true.
Okay, but real talk. Not
Real
on
talk.
pianos. Daffy Duck versus Donald Duck. Who wins and why?
I almost want to say Daffy because he's a dastardly son of a bitch. Donald actually has a bad rep because he is probably seen by a lot of people as being a dastardly son of a bitch. However, he just has serious anger issues, and bad shit happens to the poor motherfucker a lot. In
Your
reality,
hat, sir.
oh, absolutely. In reality, Donald is a super nice guy. He just has, like, his patience level is always at -10. And I don't know. I want to think that here's the thing. When Donald gets fucking pissed, which is often, he's probably pretty hard to handle. But he also becomes less functional when he's angry. So
He's in a berserker fury.
My heart wants to say Donald, because I fucking love Donald. And he should win, because he deserves to win. Once. But my gut says that Daffy would probably win, because he would piss Donald off, and Donald could wreck his shit, but he won't, because he bumbles himself into his own death.
There you go.
So technically Daffy doesn't win, he causes Donald to fuck himself. What's the key for?
That's if you want to go to the Star Road.
Oh, no, nobody needs star roads.
But definitely not anymore.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
That's true. We saw that in theaters.
We did on the day. We actually went back to the future.
We were part of the future.
We were part of history. It was pretty solid, except I gotta tell you, we didn't sit through the entire trilogy. Sitting through 2 movies was still mildly rough, and you're missing the shit out of that.
That's another thing. I gotta blame that on the Super Nintendo, because I jump through the box sometimes.
Several times. You know what? Maybe it's another existential thing, though. Maybe sometimes there's just no box. Like, you think there's a box, and there's no box.
It just appeared to be a box.
That could be a real thing.
God damn it. Just call me Rope Snakes McGillicuddy.
Yeah?
And no, I'm not talking about my poop.
God didn't damn it, Corey. The Beavers did.
Beavers, damn it. And that's an order, not a request.
Hey, man, you can't just be ordering beavers around. They got lives, too.
There's some sort of shitty, like, I don't know, a slasher movie about zombie beavers.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, Nick and I were dicking around on Netflix and we ran across it.
That's unfortunate.
It looks like it's like, if you're into bad horror movies, it looks like a pretty good bad horror movie. Like, the beavers look fucking ridiculous. But I don't know, I'm not really into horror movies at all, so I don't know. I'm fine.
I am, but only, like, good horror movies. Like, I like classic horror movies, like 20s through 60s. After the 70s, it started getting to be more about jump scares and, like, ridiculous gore, and that just kind of upgraded every decade. There were some horror movies in the 70s, or 80s, I mean, that were actually pretty good, like The Gate, and even though it's not really a horror movie, Monster Squad is awesome. House, the second Return of the Living Dead was pretty good because it was actually funny. Gremlins, I mean, it's more of a family movie, but it's good. You know, fucking Poltergeist, the original Poltergeist, Critters. There was some pretty solid 80s horror movies, but in general, I've never been a fan of, like, gore films, and I've never been a fan of slasher films. And I would be remiss, I almost forgot, because I got too much tuna on the brain right now. My favorite modern horror movie, at least, is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Pretty good.
There you go. See, that movie is a rare case because it actually is got a lot of gore going on, but the gore is not for gore's sake. It actually has a purpose, a point, because the monster, spoilers, is an alien creature that can take on the form of anything that it absorbs, and so the absorbing process is really gory. And they used really top of the line for 1982, like practical effects to show that. And it was good. It's good stuff, but the gore wasn't really the selling point of the movie. The reason that the movie's so good, aside from the fact that John Carpenter back then was amazing, is the fact that the entire film, from start to finish, has this unending, unrelenting sense of both isolation, because they're out in the fucking Antarctic, and also just a non-stop, relentless sense of dread and like building tension. And it's good. It's really good. If you've never seen John Carpenter's The Thing, I would highly suggest it. I would highly suggest the original adaptation of that story, which was an old short story called Who Goes There. There was a 50s film called The Thing from Another World. It's also very good, directed by Howard Hawks, but it's a different kind of movie. It's not really a horror film, it's more of a science fiction movie, and they changed the monster to be this weird humanoid plant guy who absorbs all of the blood and fluids out of people's bodies. But it's still a good movie. I could talk about movies on movies. I got movies on top of movies.
Meanwhile, don't watch the Modern Thing prequel.
Here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about The Thing. Two things about The Thing. The prequel. I appreciate and respect what they were going for. I appreciate the level of attention to detail that they showed, because they based a lot of the movie off of this very minor, short scene in John Carpenter's '82 film, where they go to check out a Norwegian Arctic camp, and it's burnt and trashed, and there's all this weird shit that seemed to have happened, but they don't know what's going on. And they actually just kind of followed that scene frame by frame and try to recreate what they think happened to the Norwegian camp. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate that they were trying to do a real prequel that actually paid attention to the first movie. What I didn't really care for was the fact that, for one thing, they just called the movie The Thing. They didn't call it The Thing, subtitle, whatever. It should have had a subtitle to let people know that it wasn't a remake, and there was another movie called The Thing. They just called it The Thing, and that's dumb. The other thing I didn't like about it, the movie itself, is just that it wasn't like John Carpenter's The Thing. They failed in that regard to try and make a movie that honored the original, because it didn't really have any tension. It was all jump scares, the monster was CGI, and they show you too much, They do all the things that modern horror movies tend to get wrong. They got wrong. It wasn't a bad movie. It was one of the better, I will call it one of the better modern horror movies I've seen. If I had never seen John Carpenter's The Thing and only saw that prequel, I would have thought, hey, this is okay. It's weird, but it's okay. But as far as being an actual prequel goes, So, yeah, it's not worth seeing. You can. It's not horrible, but it's not. You don't need to see it.
So I've told you this before.
Yep.
The best horror movie I ever saw was the first 15 minutes of Jeepers Creepers. And one of the worst horror movies I ever saw was the rest of Jeepers Creepers.
Poor Jeepers Creepers.
When it was just spoilers, Jeepers Creepers spoilers, when it was just like a guy in a big fuck-off truck running people off the road and dumping body bags in the wells, that shit's scary. That shit's fucked up. When it's a purple winged demon who eats organs, that's not real. I'm fine.
I think that he was more grayish-brown, Corey.
I mean, that makes him sound less dumb, so I prefer purple.
I think what's happening is that Corey's confusing an episode of Barney with Jeepers Creepers.
The one where he grows wings and eats people's organs.
Yes, that happened. That's why they canceled the show. I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe Barney's still on. I have no idea.
I also don't know.
I don't think so. I think at some point it stops. But
oh, geez, I didn't know that could happen. You learn something new every day.
The thing about Jeepers Creepers was I thought the first movie, even though semi-spoilers, it has a super bummer ending. But it was, in general, I thought it was good. I thought it was a well-done modern horror movie. But the sequel, and here's another case, I always rant and rail against sequels and remakes that should never happen. The sequel was so fucking dumb that it almost ruined the first movie completely. The only way that you can possibly reconcile that kind of action is by just pretending that the sequel never happened. And of course, we know about that with video games, don't we, Corey?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of games that never got made.
Unfortunately, after Final Fantasy VII, they realized that they had gone off the rails and stopped the series cold. Never made another one.
We can only wonder what those other games would have been like.
Maybe they would have been great. Or maybe they would have fucked the whole series up.
Like that.
Just like that.
Okay, we got 40 seconds.
Can you do it?
If he is kind to me.
That's the dumbest thing. He's putting his head inside, pulling a fireball out, and throwing it.
Okay, we're good.
That's
we did
dumb.
it.
That's dumb.
That whole the whole second half of that level is like RNG. It's all random number generation as you wait for the wizard to pop up and break. You can aim where his shot goes, but if a guy's walking, you can't jump where you need to go. And who knows where he shows up? And sometimes he shows up over there in the trench and he just hits it, and Mario just kicks the fucking castle off screen.
He didn't even give a shit. At this point in the game, he's just tired. He wants it to be over. He's like, fuck it. I'm not going to do anything cute or fancy. I'm just going to kick the fucking tower. So, next time on Lame Chumps, we're going to finish this shit up. It's going to be an epic showdown of epic proportions.
Continue and save, motherfuckers.